The loudest sound in recorded human history was not a bomb, not a gunshot, not a rocket launch. It was a volcano, and it was heard on 10% of the Earth's surface. One eruption erased an entire language from existence. Another buried a city in less than 2 minutes. The only survivor was a prisoner locked in a dungeon. These are the 10 deadliest volcanic eruptions in human history, each one worse than the last. And number 1 hasn't happened yet. Number 10. Mount St. Helens, the mountain that blew sideways. May 18, 1980, Washington State. 8:32 in the morning, a magnitude 5.1 earthquake shakes the mountain. The entire north face of the volcano collapses, not upward, sideways, the largest landslide in recorded history. A wall of rock, ice, and superheated gas explodes outward at over 300 miles per hour. Everything within 8 miles is vaporized. Trees 20 miles away are flattened like matchsticks, all pointing the same direction, away from the mountain. 57 people die, including Harry Truman, not the president, an 83-year-old innkeeper who refused to leave his lodge at the base of the volcano. They told him it was going to blow. He said, "That mountain's part of me. I'm part of that mountain." He never left. His body was never found. He is buried under 150 feet of volcanic debris. Number 9. Mount Unzen, Japan, the tsunami nobody expected. 1792, the island of Kyushu. The lava dome on Mount Unzen collapses without warning. The collapse triggers a massive landslide that tears through the city of Shimabara and plunges into the ocean. The ocean responds with a tsunami 57 meters high, nearly 190 feet. It hits the opposite shore of the bay and washes away entire villages. 15,000 people die. It remains Japan's deadliest volcanic disaster. Number 8. Laki, Iceland, the poison fog. 1783, the Laki fissure in southern Iceland tears open across 27 kilometers. Not a single explosion, a slow, relentless flood of lava and toxic gas. For 8 months, Laki releases a poisonous fog of sulfur dioxide across Iceland, then Europe, then the world. Crops die, livestock die. 25% of Iceland's population starves to death. Over 9,000 people gone. The fog drifts across Europe. Summer temperatures drop. Harvests fail from France to Egypt. Famine follows. Some historians argue the famine helped trigger the French Revolution 6 years later. A volcano in Iceland may have helped end the French monarchy. Number 7. Nevado del Ruiz, Colombia, the warning nobody listened to. November 13, 1985. Nevado del Ruiz, a snow-capped volcano in the Andes, produces a small eruption, barely noticeable. But the eruption melts the glacier on the summit. Millions of cubic meters of meltwater mix with volcanic ash and debris. The mixture forms a lahar, a volcanic mudflow moving at highway speed down the canyon toward the town of Armera. Scientists had warned the government for months. They published hazard maps. They begged officials to evacuate the town. The government did nothing. The evacuation order was never given. At 11:30 at night, a wall of mud 3 stories high hits Armero at 50 kilometers per hour. The town is buried. In minutes, 23,000 people die in their beds. The eruption itself was tiny. It was the mud that killed an entire town. The eruption only produced 3% of the ash that Mount St. Helens did, but it killed 400 times more people. Number 6. Santa Maria, Guatemala, the volcano nobody recognized. October 1902. Santa Maria has been dormant for so long that the people living at its base do not believe it is a volcano. It is covered in trees and farmland. It looks like a mountain. It is a bomb. When it erupts, the blast column reaches 28 kilometers into the sky. Ash falls for days. At least 5,000 people die. Many of them never evacuated because they did not know the mountain under their feet could explode. Number 5. Mount Vesuvius, the city that froze in time. August 24, 79 AD, the Roman city of Pompeii, a thriving port of 11,000 people. Merchants, slaves, gladiators, senators. At 1 in the afternoon, Vesuvius erupts. A column of ash and pumice rises 33 kilometers into the sky. For hours, pumice stones the size of fists rain down on Pompeii. Roofs collapse under the weight. People flee. Some stay. Then the column collapses. A pyroclastic surge, superheated gas and rock traveling at 700 kilometers per hour, floods down the mountain. It reaches Pompeii in seconds. The temperature inside the cloud is over 300 degrees Celsius. Every living thing dies instantly. Nearby Herculaneum is buried under 20 meters of volcanic material. Pompeii under 4 to 6 meters. An estimated 16,000 people die. The cities are lost for 1,500 years until they are accidentally rediscovered in 1595. The ash preserved everything: food on tables, graffiti on walls, the shapes of human bodies curled in their final moments. Vesuvius is still active. 3 million people now live in its shadow. Number 4. Mont Pelee, Martinique. 30,000 dead in 2 minutes. May 8, 1902. Saint-Pierre, Martinique. Known as the Paris of the Caribbean. 30,000 people. A bustling port, a beautiful city. 7 kilometers away, Mount Pelee has been rumbling for weeks. Ash, tremors, sulfur in the air. Snakes driven from the mountain bite and kill 50 people in the lowlands. The governor tells everyone to stay. An election is coming. He does not want the city to empty before the vote. At 7:52 in the morning, the last telegraph message leaves Saint-Pierre. The operator types one word: LA. Go ahead. 1 second later, the line goes dead. The upper mountainside rips open. A pyroclastic surge, superheated gas, ash and rock, erupts horizontally at over 670 kilometers per hour. It reaches Saint-Pierre in less than 2 minutes. The temperature exceeds 1,000 degrees Celsius. Every building is flattened, every tree is snapped at the trunk, stone statues are thrown meters from their pedestals. Ships in the harbor catch fire and sink. Nearly 30,000 people die, almost the entire population of the city, in less than 120 seconds. There are 3 known survivors. One is Ludger Silberis, a prisoner, locked in a windowless underground dungeon the night before for getting into a bar fight. The stone walls and lack of ventilation shielded him from the blast. He was found 4 days later, badly burned but alive, screaming from his cell. He later joined the Barnum and Bailey circus, billed as the man who lived through doomsday. A bar fight saved his life. The dungeon he was thrown into was the only structure in the city that could survive the eruption. Number 3. Krakatoa, the loudest sound on Earth. August 27, 1883. The volcanic island of Krakatoa, between Java and Sumatra, Indonesia. At 10 in the morning, the volcano produces the single loudest sound in recorded human history. The explosion is heard 4,800 kilometers away, in Australia, in the Indian Ocean, on 10% of the Earth's surface. If you were standing 16 kilometers from Krakatoa, the sound would have been 180 decibels, enough to rupture your organs. The eruption ejects 25 cubic kilometers of rock and ash into the sky. The column reaches 80 kilometers high, into the mesosphere. Then the island collapses. 2/3 of Krakatoa sinks into the ocean. Where a mountain 450 meters tall once stood, there is now water 275 meters deep. The collapse generates a tsunami over 40 meters high. It strikes the coasts of Java and Sumatra. 36,000 people die, most of them drowned by waves they never saw coming. Towns are erased from the map. The ash in the atmosphere turns sunsets blood red across the entire planet for over a year. Global temperatures drop. And today, in the same spot, a new island is growing. Anak Krakatau, child of Krakatau. It has been erupting since the 1920s. The child is still growing. Number 2. Mount Tambora, the year without summer. April 10, 1815. The island of Sumbawa, Indonesia. Mount Tambora, a stratovolcano standing 4,300 meters tall, detonates. It is the largest volcanic eruption in recorded human history. VEI 7, supercolossal. 100 cubic kilometers of rock ejected into the atmosphere. The explosion is heard 2,600 kilometers away. The ash column reaches 45 kilometers into the sky. Pyroclastic flows race down the slopes and into the sea, generating tsunamis. 10,000 people die in the first hours. Ash buries everything within hundreds of kilometers. Crops are destroyed, water is poisoned, livestock suffocate. In the months that follow, 82,000 more people die of starvation and disease. The total death toll reaches over 90,000. Some estimates say 120,000. An entire tribe, the Tambora people, is erased from existence. Their language, of which only 48 words were ever recorded, is lost forever. But the worst part is not the eruption itself, it is what comes after. The sulfur and ash in the atmosphere block sunlight across the entire planet. Global temperatures drop by nearly 2 degrees. 1816 becomes known as the year without a summer. Snow falls in June in New England. Frost kills crops in July across Europe. Famine spreads from China to Ireland. Grain prices in Switzerland quadruple. Typhus sweeps across Europe. In Switzerland, mothers who cannot feed their children choose to end their suffering rather than watch them starve. A new strain of cholera emerges from the Bay of Bengal, mutated by the altered climate. It will spread across the world over the next decades. Tambora did not just kill 90,000 people. It changed the weather, the food supply, the disease landscape, the politics of an entire century. When it was over, the mountain had lost 1,400 meters of its summit. Gone. In its place was a crater 7 kilometers wide and 1 kilometer deep, a scar visible from space. But even Tambora is not number one. Number 1. Yellowstone. The one that hasn't happened yet. Beneath Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming sits a magma chamber. It is roughly 80 kilometers long, 40 kilometers wide, and up to 15 kilometers deep. It is one of the largest active volcanic systems on Earth. It has erupted 3 times in the last 2.1 million years. The last eruption, 640,000 years ago, ejected over 1,000 cubic kilometers of material. That is 10 times more than Tambora. It created a caldera 72 kilometers long. The entire Yellowstone caldera is visible only from space. You are standing inside it when you visit the park. If Yellowstone erupted at full scale today, the immediate blast zone would cover parts of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. Pyroclastic flows would reach speeds of hundreds of kilometers per hour. Everything within 100 kilometers would be incinerated. Ash would blanket the entire continental United States, several centimeters thick on the East Coast, meters thick in the Midwest. Air travel would stop, agriculture would collapse, water systems would be contaminated. The ash in the atmosphere would trigger a volcanic winter lasting years. Global temperatures would drop by 5 to 10 degrees. Crop failures worldwide, mass starvation, economic collapse, the end of the modern world as we know it. Scientists estimate the probability of a full eruption in any given year is about 1 in 730,000. That is extremely low. But the magma is still there. The ground above it rises and falls by centimeters every year. The geysers still steam. The hot springs still boil. Yellowstone is not dead. It is sleeping. And when it wakes up, there is no evacuation plan large enough, no technology advanced enough, no government prepared enough. Every volcano on this list killed thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and all of them combined would be a footnote compared to Yellowstone. The deadliest volcano in human history is the one that hasn't erupted yet. And it is sitting under a national park where 2 million tourists take photos every year, smiling, unaware, standing on a bomb.